Mark Skaar on the Skaar Card on 103.7 The Fox. Proud to welcome in the legendary Graham Bonnet. Graham, welcome.
Wow, legendary?
Yes, sir.
I better tell my friends about that. I'm just Graham from Skegness, Lincolnshire, England, and when people say to me, you're a legend or a legend or whatever, I don't quite believe them because I think they're pulling my leg or something. But thank you very much for the compliment anyway.
Absolutely. There's a new Alcatrazz record after 34 years. I call them records because I'm old. It's called Born Innocent, and congratulations.
Yeah. Huh? Yes, it is, and it's the title of one of the songs on the album. That's why we chose that. Has the jail kind of influenced title. Innocence. Guilty or innocent. So that's where the title came from. But Born Innocent, the song itself, is not about that, obviously.
Mm-hmm. And I think there's, there's 14 songs on here?
Yeah, way too many. I thought, well, we're never going to get this album finished. How many? I'll tell you what, let's make it 20. I remember the days when it used to be 10, and that was it,
Right, or 8 or something, depending.
Yeah, I know. And then probably a couple of instrumentals, which didn't happen on this, but anyway.
So 3/5 of the lineup is the original lineup, and you got a couple new guys, and I think Joe Stump really kind of takes you back to probably that Yngwie kind of vibe.
Yeah, I met Joe, God, it must be, 20 years ago probably, a long time ago, and we played in a school in L.A., a music school, and we had an audience of students who were studying music, etc., and a lot of sort of well-known people played for these young students. There was like guys from The Doors, Toto, Uli Roth, and Joe Stump, who are the ones I remember anyway. And Joe wanted to play with me because it was a very ad-lib thing where we went on stage and sang or played one of our so-called hits. So Joe played with me 2 songs, Lost in Hollywood, I think, and Since You've Been Gone, of course. Mm-hmm. So it was that was the first introduction to him. Then when we were looking for a guitar player recently, over the past couple of months, his name came up, and I said, well, I know him. I remember playing with him years ago, and he was ideal because he can play like everybody. He's a chameleon. He plays like Yngwie. He can play like Gary Moore, and you play like Steve Vai if he wants to, But he's a very seasoned musician and knows what he's talking about, as well as being a teacher of music as well. I mean, he's a good guy, great guy, very, very nice, calm, and no big-headed ego thingy going on there, as far as I know. But perfect for the band.
Talking to Graham Bonnet. Graham, tell me what it's like working with Gary and Jimmy again.
Gary hadn't played on this album. We had somebody play bass on the tracks. Gary came in late in the day. He was sort of coming in to play live, and if we're ever going to play live, I doubt it this year. But it was nice to play with Jimmy again. He's been in the band for a little while, so we've gotten used to each other and our bad things and our good things. The arguments and the hate, all that stuff. Oh yes, I remember this. It's kind of good to have him there, but Gary hasn't played on this at all. Gary has come into the band for live gigs, which, as I said, I don't know will be happening for a while.
Right, exactly. Graham, let's again, there's 14 songs. The first thing we heard was Polar Bear.
Yes. Well, that song itself is not necessarily about the bear, but about the guy that ends up being sort of consumed by the bear, if you will. This is something that the Eskimo people used to do. I don't know if it still happens, but when the elder of the tribe got older and lost all his teeth and could no longer eat and could no longer, he didn't have the strength anymore to hunt, he would go out into the snow and basically commit suicide and sit in the snow until he froze to death, basically, or whatever, and then the bear would come along and eat him. And they thought the bear was something that would take him into another world, into the afterlife, if you will. And so that's what used to happen. If it still does to this day, I'm not sure, but I doubt it. I can't see anybody going, I think people go to the dentist now and make sure their teeth are okay.
Let's talk about London 1666. That was the second track we heard before the record came out.
Oh, that's sort of a note about what happened there. Is the Great Fire of London in 1666 was caused by a bakery catching fire in, of all names, Pudding Lane in London, and it spread like wildfire, shall we say. It spread like crazy, and of course it was burnt most of London, but the higher reaches like Highgate and Hampstead were free of that fire. In fact, I used to live in a house in Highgate, which was built in 1606, and it didn't get burned down. I mean, it was a huge fire, but some places were saved on higher ground.
And then I think the third thing was Dirty Like the City.
Yeah, that's Steve Vai. He wrote that tune, where he made up the arrangements, and I wrote the words and melody to that. Steve sent me, the band's 60 songs.
Wow.
And we played through them all. Well, somebody did. And we picked this as being probably the best track for this album. Steve is a great player, and unfortunately didn't play on the album, but Joe copied his style. Joe Stump, Steve Vai, who is he? That's his Joe Stump impersonation. So he played as well as he could doing a Steve Vai sort of guitar playing. But I think he played pretty well. And thank you, Steve, for that one track.
Yeah, fantastic. And Chris Impellitteri, you mentioned the title track. He's on there.
Yes, he is. Yes, he played, and that track just came very easily. I know Chris so well, and that song came along pretty well. It's sometimes good to sort of know how the players are going to go, and he knows how I'm going to sing a song, so he sort of tailored it toward my vocal,
stylings,
arranging, whatever. I know where I'm going to go vocally, what notes I'm going to hit, where's going to be the high notes, where's going to be the mid notes, etc. So he's very schooled in my interpretation of his songs.
Talking with Graham Bonnet about the new Alcatrazz, and I wanted to veer into some other things. You speak about your voice, still so powerful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, Bethany's just walking by with... Sorry, I got distracted for a second. She's very nautical. I'm outside, sitting out here, sweating like crazy. I'm sorry, what was the question again?
About your voice being still powerful after all these years of singing.
Oh, well, I'm just very lucky. I found that, actually, I was not that lucky. I had to go and see a surgeon about my throat because it was getting like, crackly sounding. Mm-hmm. And so I went to this doctor here in Los Angeles, and he said, well, your right vocal cord is very, very scarred and has lost its... what can I say, flexibility, plumpness, whatever. So what had happened was my right vocal cord was flattened out by the years of shouting my head off and singing, and what he did was put some cortisone actually in to the vocal cord, and I got my voice back to where it was before, because I was going like, the choking, coughing sort of thing, and it was really annoying me and worrying me. But I found out what it was, and I went in for this little bit of surgery, so to speak, and I was in there for about an hour or so. Obviously, I was unconscious, but he pumped some cortisone into the right vocal cord, and I got my voice back, which was great. So now I've got the young voice back, and it was always there, but just a little croaky. So now it's clearer, and I've just been very lucky. I've kept on practicing and singing all the time, and I think if you don't sing constantly, you will lose it. You lose how to phrase things, etc., etc., as well as getting the right tone to your voice also. It's not about singing high. It's about singing, in tune and perfectly without getting too, hoarse sounding. I'm just lucky. What can I say?
Graham, speaking of surgery, how's your back?
Fine, thank you. Yeah, that's good now. But now, being 73 as I am almost, I have other aches and pains. So it's a domino effect. I had the bad back. Now I've got a knee and a shoulder that are hurting like crazy. But I'm not sort of hobbling around as I was before. I can walk better, but my right knee is playing up. And my right shoulder, I need to have a shoulder replacement. Now, when am I going to do this? Who the hell knows? Who's going to hospital these days? Nobody, unless you're really sick. So I've got to wait for that to happen, and I don't sort of enjoy the thought of having to go in and have a shoulder replacement, which is pretty drastic, but I have to, it's on my right side, and I have to make sure that I can play, until that happens. Play guitar and, obviously make up the songs we're doing. That's how I write, basically, is on guitar, and then pass it on to the band. So the little things, aches and pains, which you get, you find out the engine is wearing out as you get older. And I don't know how old you are, but, it happens to us all. You don't have to be as old as me, but you can be in your 40s or 50s, and this can happen, So it's the way it goes, and I'm okay, but it's just annoying.
Sure. Talking with Graham Bonnet. As we're talking, 2 days ago was the 40th anniversary of Castle Donnington, 1980.
Yeah. That was a day I'll never forget, because all of my family were there, my mom and dad, my brother, my nieces and nephews, etc., as well as a huge freaking audience. And it was something that was a great day, but a sad day, because Cozy Powell was going to lead the band, and that was the last gig he did with Rainbow. And we begged him after the show to stay. I remember we sat up till 6 in the morning after the show was over, saying to Cozy, please, hang with us if you can. He was just tired of being with the band. He wanted to do something else. He was offered a better job, better money, I guess. And I remember me and Don Airey were like, oh my God, Cozy's gone. Because me and Cozy and Don were very close. And Don said to me, he said, well, if Cozy's gone, I'm going to go too. So I thought Don Airey was going to lead the band that day. And I went back to LA and handed in my resignation, because I thought Don was going to go. And if Don Airey went and I was gone and Cozy was gone, what was going to happen to the band? But I thought, like, nothing. I thought the band was going to come to an end, but of course it didn't, because Richie got on it and got new players, and Don Airey actually stayed with the band, and I hate him for that, because I thought he was going to leave, and I was like, oh, blimey, if you're going to leave, Don, there's going to be no fun anymore, because Richie was hanging out with his girlfriend, and as I said, me and Don and Cozy always hung out together. The Three Musketeers, were very close. But that day was a great day, but unhappy in some ways, but I'll never forget it. It was the best gig ever, even though we're all very tired. It was the end of the tour, and we after the show was over, I remember saying to Don, God, I wish we'd been more awake tonight, because we were tired, and end of the tour, and we weren't, we didn't have the energy that we usually had. Like the day before, or 2 days before, we played great. That night, I thought we played okay, but now I listen to it, it ain't that bad.
Yeah, it's a legendary gig, and of course it was supposed to be a one-off, but it became this thing every year.
Sorry?
It became this thing every year. They had Castle Donnington every year after that.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible, because the people that actually, put the show on, the guys that owned a racetrack, close to a race car track, and they thought they'd probably get about 8,000 people. Well, it turned into be, way more than that. It was 80,000 plus. So, I mean, it was just an incredible event. It really was. And because of its success, they kept on going and doing the same thing every year, because they thought it would fail. But because of the problems with the farmers around the county there, were complaining about putting on a big show and making a lot of noise, and annoying the cattle and the horses and whatever else, but they just didn't want their land being taken over by a bunch of hippie type people or whatever, rockers if you will, and trampling all over their farmland. but it was very organized. People didn't do that. They were they were a good audience and very respectable of where they were and the farmland around that area. So now it's sort of on there every year, and incredible. Just incredible. So that was a moment in history that I was part of, and Rainbow was part of, and I thank Rainbow for having me in the band. It's just amazing. What a day.
A couple of years ago, Graham, I saw you in Minneapolis with Michael Schenker, and what a lot of fun that was, and everybody was having a great time, and just a 3-hour extravaganza, I guess, of all of his songs. It was just wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, some of those songs I didn't know. So I had to learn UFO songs, a couple of them, which I got, we're going to do this. Because I thought it was a bit too... I thought we should do Michael Schenker. So I know Michael was in UFO and all that. But it was like, I didn't know Doctor or any of those songs, because I never listened to UFO or Scorpions or whatever of that era, because I was into other music at that time. But when I joined Michael Schenker Band, I knew that probably there'd be some of the old songs in there. But we did a few, and all the other guys, all the other singers knew those songs backwards, and I didn't. But the fun was, doing backing harmony with Gary and Robin and Doogie. It was great to do backup harmonies and have a good laugh. We're all good friends, and what a great, concept, having that, the 3-4 singers with, doing their songs from the albums they recorded with Michael. And it was great to be back with Michael and see him smiling at me instead of scowling and, getting really crazy at me because of my horrible things I did back then when I was with the band. I should never have done it. I was fired, obviously, from the band for doing what I did. I don't know if you know what it was anyway.
Oh, yes.
Talk about
yep.
Everybody knows.
I'm 53 years old. I used to get Kerrang every week, and it was in there, of course.
Yeah. I mean, it was disgusting. But I was, out of my head. I've been drinking in the afternoon with White Snake, and then drinking again at the gig, and I really fucked up, to put it mildly. So I was fired, obviously, and then Gary Barden came into the band and did, I think it was Castle Donnington, a couple of days later.
Or Reading, one of those, yeah.
Yeah, it was a big, festival thingy, and I was very upset about it, but at the same time, I deserved it. I was a real stupid idiot, and I hope that kind of thing never happens again. I'm no longer drinking and taking drugs or whatever it is. I'm a dry alcoholic now. I am an alcoholic, and I admit it. And it's you're going to be an alcoholic for the rest of your life. You just can't take that drink, and that really screwed up a bit of my career.
I love Down to Earth and Assault Attack. They're just they get played frequently in my house, and they're just always going to be there.
Oh, thank you. That's very nice. I love those albums too, not because I was on them, but how could you fail with such a great lineup? I think, as I said, I was very lucky to be asked to join Rainbow, and then to join up with Michael when Cozy was still in the band, the MSG band,
Right.
Cozy asked me to do that. He said, would you like to be in the band? One night when I went to see Michael, and the guys playing L.A., and after the show, Cozy came up to me and said, what do you think of the show? I said, fucking great. I said, it was amazing. Great band. And I'd never seen Michael play before, but Cozy and him were great together. Gary did a great job. Everybody, it was just amazing. And he said, how would you like to be in the band? I said, what, have 2 singers? He said, no. He said, Gary's going to go. I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, he's leaving the band. I didn't know why or what was happening. And I said, well, really? And so, anyway, a little while later, I got tapes come to me. Remember those things?
Mm-hmm.
A cassette tape, which I played on my cassette player, and it had on it Urgent, and it was 3 songs from Michael, demos of the arrangements for a new album. So I got in touch with them and the management, and I said, well, you really want me to be in the band as Gary gone? And Gary was not in the band anymore. So suddenly I was in the MSG band and writing songs for the Michael Schenker group, which I never expected to happen. But I'm sort of glad it did, but at the same time, I don't know why I got the job. But anyway, I did.
Cozy, I think, had a hand in that, definitely.
Yeah. Well, of course.
Yes.
My brother.
Yes, we miss him.
We do.
Yeah, that title track, that vocal performance, out of this world.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, the title track, I had no title for that song, and somebody called it Assault Attack, which is basically attack or assault, because the word means the same thing. But what that came from was when we were in rehearsal, one of the crew was asleep, and Michael turns his gear up to 11, so to speak, really, really loud, and played this loud chord and all that kind of stuff. And the guy, I can't remember who it was, but the guy woke up and said, "Oh, what is this? Some kind of assault attack?" I believe he was Scottish, I don't know. But that's where that title came from. And so, because I had no title to that song, that's what it was called. By what's the word? But you know what I mean. By accident or something.
Yeah. And I just remembered Rocky to the Ground was originally called Heavy Blues.
I mean, Rocky to the Ground wasn't even called that. I called it something else. Hit you to the ground or something. I didn't use the word rock. Something to the ground. Take you to the ground or something. And I believe somebody in the band changed it to rock, which I don't like using in songs if I can help it. That word, rock and roll and all that stuff. It's been done so many times. That's not one of my titles, but To the Ground part was my title.
Because Roger Glover wrote lyrics on Down to Earth, right?
Yes, he did. He gave. What happened was, I said to Roger, I have no idea what to do here, because I didn't know what to do verses or anything on some of these songs, because they were so sort of classical sounding and didn't sound like they needed a vocal at all. And I said to Roger, because of Deep Purple, he knew exactly where to put stuff. He's worked with Richie for a million years. And he said, well, I'll show you where the verses come and where the choruses come, so to speak. And I said, well, okay. But I said, who's going to write the words? Because at that time, I wasn't writing words at all, especially to songs I wasn't familiar with and arrangements. So he said, well, this is the verse, this is the chorus, this is the bridge, whatever. And I said, okay. Well, he said, now I'll give you a vague idea of a melody. And he said, you just kind of take it where you want to take it. So he wrote the words, and I basically made up a melody as I was going along. And I didn't realize at that time I was writing songs. And I wasn't credited, which is kind of annoying now. Now I look back. I wasn't credited for doing the melodies. I didn't write the words. Roger did. But he gave me a vague idea of a melody, and so did Richie. And he just said, well, sing whatever you like. Okay. And that's what I did. I demoed sort of each song in a different way. Okay, I'll sing the verse like this time. What do you think of that one? No, the first two lines are good. How about you do the next two lines in a different way? And that's how we did it. It was all very ad-lib. And it's something I wish I'd known what I was doing, but I was a bit green and didn't realize I was suddenly a songwriter, So anyway, blood under the bridge now. Right.
And then one final thing I wanted to just mention. Not all that long ago, I read Story Behind the Shades, and I really enjoyed it. Small print and all.
What was that?
The book, The Story Behind the Shades, about you.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was written by a friend of mine, Steve Wright. And it's out of copyright now. I was just talking about it the other day to Bethany and the new band I'm sort of putting together right now. We're recording Conrad Passanato, who's our old guitar player, so to speak. Not old, but one of our first guitar players before the other ones came along in the Alcatrazz situation. So we're talking about it, and I said to them, it'd be nice to get this back in copy again. Steve Wright has just disappeared off the planet. He doesn't want to know about writing books or anything anymore. I don't know what's happened to him, but I think he had some kind of a nervous breakdown after writing the book about me. It was something that I don't understand, and when I've tried to get in touch with him and the editor and the publisher and all that kind of thing, he said, I don't want to know about it anymore, Graham. I've had enough of that. So I never hear from him anymore, but it'd be nice to have that back in print again to sell online or at gigs, like we do with CDs and whatever, which are things that people don't buy anymore, who buy CDs these days. But at the shows, that's how we promote the band, is by selling the CD package and autographing them. And I would like to have done the same thing with the book. So I think it's kind of interesting.
I agree, and that's a shame, but
it is.
odd story.
Yeah, there's some stuff in there I don't even remember about, because a lot of my friends added their comments there, and it's kind of cool, I appreciate that. And, it's a nice little ego trip for me to read how fabulous I was. Of course, I'm joking.
Is there going to be any more
a bit of a screw-up sometimes.
Is there going to be more Graham Bonnet Band stuff?
That's what's happening now. Mm-hmm. I'm playing with, that sounds very rude, doesn't it? With Bethany, she's playing bass, and Conrad is playing guitar, because you can't stop working even though we're not on the road. Alcatrazz has made an album. Whether I'll play with Alcatrazz again, I doubt it, because it's going to be a long time before anybody's on the road, let alone Alcatrazz. And they're not exactly, we're going to have Alcatrazz on the bill. If anybody's going to be out there playing, it will be bands that are much bigger than Alcatrazz, if they do anything at all for the next year. It seems like next year is going to be as bad as this year, because this virus is going nowhere, as far as I can see. But I'm recording with Conrad and Bethany, and we have certain guest people that have been playing on this album that'll be very nice. Don Airy being one of them. He's written a song for us, and also some other. Well, I'll find out later who's actually going to be on this. There's a lot of people in line that, luckily, they are very willing to play on the album for next to nothing because of what's happening right now. The musicians in the world want to play with musicians, and I credit myself as being a reasonable musician as well as a songwriter. Well, that is what a musician is. But people are proud enough to come along, and they want to be part of this so-called project that we're doing right now. But hopefully it's more than a project, because I like to go out and play with these guys, Bethany and Conrad and whomever else, because it's a mixture of hard rock and a little bit of R&B. It's a bit of everything. So I hope that people will like what I do and what we do. I'm very happy to do this, because it's kind of relaxing now, because nothing's kind of happening. There's no urgency to get things done by next week, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic. I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Yeah, well, me too. We ain't quite there yet, but we're getting there. I'm writing words, and I haven't sung a damn thing yet, but we've got guitars down and some bass parts. But still a long way to go.
Great. Graham, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome, and any time. I'm always here.
For Graham Bonnet, I'm Mark Skaar on the Skaar Card on 103.7 The Fox.